Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Some people can't be pleased even if you offer them a service for free. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Client threatens to sue my company for not giving out free laptops. Bit of context for the sake of clarity. I work for an internet and phone provider. Corona hit hard where I live, and the government's giving out funds for providers to put out hella cheap packages so that people who've lost their job and whatnot can afford an internet connection for their kids to attend online classes and stuff. On top of that, companies can choose to discount certain electronics such as tablets or laptops and get part of the money back from the government, or something along those lines. I wasn't paying much attention. My company had a bunch of tablets left in the warehouse and decided to give them out for free as a Christmas gift to people who buy the package I mentioned earlier. Since we're working from home, we've been instructed to call everyone who's placed a request for the package and interview them to see if they fit the type of customer the package was made for. The client, C, presents himself as a difficult one from the moment he picks up the phone. He acts annoyed, won't answer the questions, and overall acts like he's doing me a favor rather than the other way around. After 20 painful minutes, I can conclude that he fits the description and proceed to tell him what the package includes. The conversation went pretty much as follows. M. I'm happy to inform you that you fit the standards required to be able to purchase this particular package. The offer lasts 12 months with a monthly price of €10, and it includes a Wi-Fi connection and a landline with unlimited calls. You're also going to receive a free tablet as a Christmas gift from our company. C. Okay, but I hear other providers give out discounted laptops. Yes, sir, I'm aware of that. Our company decided to give out free tablets instead, though. But I wanted a laptop. Can't you write down that I wanted a discounted laptop? I'm sorry, sir, but I can't do that. We don't have that kind of device at our disposal. Furthermore, I'm just calling to let you know what the offer entails. You're free to decline at any moment. I can't believe you won't sell me a laptop. Sir, I'm sorry, but as I said, we don't have laptops to sell. You're trying to scam me, I can tell. I'll have you know that I know many important people and that I'm going to sue you and your company over this. Cue another 20 minutes of madness. We're not allowed to hang up unless the client tells us they're done with the call first. So yeah, he didn't have any money to buy a laptop full price or pay a full price monthly internet subscription, but he apparently had the money to sue a big old company. Gotta love middle-aged men. Free tablet instead of a discounted laptop. Yeah, that's definitely a scam. Only scam I've ever heard of that I actually want to happen to me. And our next story. My father sued my sister for my mother's house. A bit of backstory. My parents got divorced 33 years ago. Oh, and at the time they both owned several houses. When they separated their assets, my mother got the home she lives in now, and my father got the home he lives in now. But he tried to still take the home she lives in by not paying the mortgage payments and not telling her he hadn't paid the mortgage. Had it not been for my godfather loaning my mom the money to get the payments up to date, my father would have put my mother and his 3 kids out on the street. Fast forward 28 years later. My father owned his own business and was looking for someone to buy it, so my sister offered to buy it from him. They agreed on a price and signed the contract. Now here's the rub. The business was actually a business that was losing customers because it's a dying industry, and my father never told my sister that. My sister's one of the hardest workers I know, and she put everything she had into this business, and nothing she was doing was working. And that wasn't because she wasn't doing the right thing, it was because the business, in and of itself, was a dying medium for that industry. During the course of all this, after my father had finally retired, they got into an argument about a financial matter in dealing with the company, and my father was completely disrespectful in the way he handled it towards my sister, and he did that in front of her employees. My sister stopped talking to him at that point. Over the next couple of months, despite my sister's extensive hard work, the company went under, and my sister had to close the business after it had been open for 38 years. My sister was devastated by this because not only did she put all of her hard work, her blood, sweat, and tears into it, but she also put all of her financial resources, which meant that she was financially devastated as well. My father was really upset because the company that he created and nurtured over 38 years had been closed through what he saw as no fault of his own. Clearly, because the business closed, my sister could not continue to pay my dad a payment she was paying him for his business. Then she found out that the business had already been dying. In fact, my father had taken money out of his own account to put into the business because he knew it was dying when he sold it to her. He literally scammed his own daughter in the sale, for lack of a better way of saying it. Because she stopped paying him, he decided that he was going to sue her in court with a judge and everything. Now, for context, a few years before all this happened, my mom had gotten sick and gone to the hospital, and at the time, I lived across the country, and my brother lived across the country, and the only one who lived in the same state was my sister. My mother was afraid that if something happened to her, we wouldn't get the house, so she put the house in my sister's name since my sister lived the closest. Oh, the house was still in my mother's name as well, but my sister's name was added to it. After my mom got out of the hospital, she never got around to changing it, so when my father started threatening to sue, my sister went through her assets and realized that my mother's house was still in her name and switched it back over to just my mother's name. In our state, however, we have a law that if you think someone fraudulently switches an asset out of their name in order to avoid being sued for it, you can sue them for that asset still, and it's up to them to prove that it wasn't fraudulently transferred. So when my father decided to sue my sister, he added my mother's house onto the lawsuit as one of the things he wanted. He didn't sue my sister for the house that she owns in her name with her husband in a whole nother city. He sued her for a house she hasn't lived in over 25 years, and a house that she has not put any money into ever in her life. Now, when he first filed the suit, I thought he was just trying to force my sister to talk to him because I couldn't imagine any parent, let alone my parents, actually suing their child. But he actually went through with it. He initially told me he was suing for my mother's house because the lawyer told him he had to sue for all her assets, and since my mother's house had been in her name, he had to sue for that as well as her house. But then I found out he wasn't suing her for her house, he was only suing for my mother's house. He's still mad that he didn't get my mother's house 33 years ago when they got a divorce. So mad that he lost in that case, and he decided to go after her house the first chance he got, and this was it 33 years later. But even more messed up is that when I found out that he was going after my mother's house, I myself told him, if you go through with this lawsuit and you win my mother's house and you take her house away from her, I will never forgive you. I will never talk to you again. You will lose me, and losing me will also mean you lose your grandchild, your only grandchild. So you need to think about whether or not it's worth it to you. And he still went through with it. He still went through with it, knowing that he would not only lose my sister, but me as well. He filed this lawsuit 5 years ago, and they just got through court. So the last 5 years, he forced his daughter, his princess, his baby girl, to suffer under the weight of knowing that her father, A, screwed her over, and B, was putting money before her, and C, apparently felt no real remorse or sadness to hurting his own child, emotionally, mentally, and financially. The worst part is, he didn't just teach her that, he taught all 3 of his kids with this one act. He did all this because he thinks that even though he got everything in the divorce, with the exception of primary custody of us kids in that one house, that he's entitled to take my mom's house after 33 years of her living there, putting all of her time and energy into making it a home for us kids, and putting her own money into improving it, and her paying off the mortgage on her own as a single mother while raising 3 teenage children on what would be considered poverty wages today. We grew up in the late 80s, early 90s. He hasn't put a dime into that property since 1988, yet he somehow feels like he's entitled to take it away from my mother without even caring about the damage it would do to his own children. I just can't stop thinking, what kind of sick F sues their own kid? So the outcome. She actually did file a countersuit for him selling her a business that was unviable. She was able to prove in court that the business was failing before he sold it to her, and that the equipment he sold her was equipment that he had bought 20 years ago and was no longer usable when it came to the technology of today. Also, I was already pretty sure that no jury worth their salt would give him a house that my sister never put a dime in and hadn't lived in for over 25 years, especially when he wasn't going after any of her other assets. I was right. When they got to court, my sister told the judge and the jury that she didn't want anything from him in her countersuit. She didn't want the money. he didn't want anything from him but for this to be over. He told the court and the jury, but he just wanted my mother's house in lieu of the $300,000 my sister owed him for the business. My father lost his lawsuit. My sister won her lawsuit and was given $0, as that's what she was asking for. So he permanently lost one daughter, and the other one, myself, is seriously questioning whether or not I want to talk to him ever again. Over the last 10 years, I've maintained a relationship with my father, not because it's what he wanted, but because it's what I wanted. Now I just don't know if that's something I want anymore. I don't know if I want to be around the kind of person that could sue his own child. She should sue him for his house. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.